Well, well, well. If it isn't the consequences of my own actions. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel if you're new here, and there are quite a few of you who are new here since the last time I checked. Please subscribe down below. I talk about Chantel. Mostly, it seems recently all I do is talk about Chantel, but I do talk about other things every once in a while. I talk about Amberlynn sometimes. I also post like other random content. Probably will be getting back to some more of that, even though it's not everyone's favorite. Hopefully, maybe when I get back. Let's see how my schedule pans out. Anyway, I am back. I meant to actually post this video yesterday. I meant to record it and post it yesterday, but I am bad with planning sometimes. And so between that and just like stuff that was happening in my house, my sister ran into some trouble with her school stuff, and I just sort of ran out of time to film. And then it was like 8 o'clock and I was so tired. So I just went to bed. No reason. Like 8 o'clock I went to bed. 8:30 actually I went to bed. And then I woke up this morning at 4 like an idiot. Anyway, the video that I want to talk about today is less lighthearted. I am in a good mood, which is why I feel comfortable being here and talking to you guys about this, because if I came on here in a bad mood when I was tired at night, I would just be like screaming at the camera for hours on end. This is the deleted live stream where Chantel is she's just sitting in a car and she's just raging the whole time about Shannon on Twitter, her ex-best friend, who leaked the DMs between her and Chantel. So I'm gonna be going through this video and I'll give you my thoughts about it then. I don't know what the original video was called. I missed a bunch of her videos. I'll be very honest with you guys. I'm skipping the videos that I don't see a lot of people talking about or that don't seem like interesting to me in the first 10 minutes, because quite frankly, she has been on live so much, and you guys as well, I'm sure, feel the same way. We have other things to do in our lives. We can't just be here all the time knowing. And I've said before, I'm not interested in the day-to-day, minute-to-minute of our lives. I'm more interested in the larger story arc. So with all that said, let's get into Chantel.
Yeah. So I don't want to talk. I feel like having like one or two like mods that I really, really trust, because I don't want like negativity in my streams anymore. I'm probably not going to do open streams at all for a long time.
I think that might be a smart idea for Chantel. She has not really shown any ability, quite frankly, to handle the kind of criticisms that open streams bring. Even honestly, a lot of her like members only chats have been getting quite contentious, and I can see why. Chantel is not really addressing any of the concerns that people have in any kind of a manner that seems consistent. She will say one thing and she'll immediately go back on it. Part of that is that even now when she says things, we have no trust in her to stick with her word, so people will like still be on her case about something that she's quote unquote addressed, because they don't have faith that she's actually going to follow through with anything. Let me just move over a little bit more. And so people will keep like harping on it a little bit, and I can understand how that can get a little bit frustrating for her. That said, I don't think this is really a very smart move. Given how irritated she is, she's blocking so many people in this video, like left, right, and center. She's like, anyone says anything she doesn't like, block, block, block. And this is her life. Like, this is like her money source. This is where she's making the chunk of her change right now, right? Without this money, she's not gonna be able to do things like pay rent, get gas for her car, buy groceries, and all those HelloFresh meals that I'm sure are still being ordered and rotting slowly in her fridge, right? How is she gonna buy Nader another TV if she doesn't have these members? And she's treating them very poorly. For all that I'm joking here with you guys about it, she is treating the people who are currently talking in her chat like absolute trash. If she is in an open chat, she will get a lot more hostility, 100%, but that also opens up the avenue to either A, attract new people from that chat, or B, garner up some sympathy, or C, it also gives people, regular people, the chance to engage with you in a manner that like they're not really getting right now, right? And it also makes it seem like more of an exclusive things to your members, right? Like being able to really chat with her more consistently will seem like a perk if she does it every once in a while. If you're used to, for example, having only 4 hours a day of work, and then all of a sudden you're expected to work 40 hours a week, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, this is unreasonable. And vice versa. If you're used to always having it easy and then all of a sudden stuff gets hard, you're not gonna know. And it's the same thing with her members. They're not getting any other content other than the ability to talk with her in chats. And I think that it would be valued more if there was structured time when other people could also do that, but they were highlighted. You know what I mean? The specialness of it. meant something a little bit more. I don't know if I'm really exploring that idea very well. What I mean to say is something like like the idea of absence making the heart grow fonder. That's what I mean.
It's just not worth it. Like like my loyal viewers don't feel like talking in there. It's just too brutal for them even. So what fun is it for, you know what I mean? So forget it.
I mean, I don't understand this concept of a loyal viewer. I'm a loyal viewer. I watch a lot of her stuff, like a lot of her stuff, right? But I think when she means loyal viewer, it means mindless sycophant. It's just someone who's willing to listen to everything she has to say and accept everything that she has to say without any kind of critical feedback, without any kind of like deeper understanding or motivations behind her actions, to never question anything that she says or does. What she wants is absolute and utter devotion from other people, right? That's what she's always wanted, that, right? She talks a lot about like unconditional love from people. And I've spoken on the topic of unconditional love before. I don't think it's a thing that's really healthy, and I don't think it's a thing that should exist. I think all love needs to have certain limits, because if it doesn't, it can lead into like strange and crazy places. It can also lead into very like toxic behaviors. Like for Chantal, a lot of it leads into enabling and essentially allowing for her horrible behavior to continue. And some of it is, yes, like toxic towards other people, like this stream is, but a lot of it is just self-destructive. So if you love someone enough, you should be able to do what's best for them, even if it's not something that necessarily makes them happy at that moment, or honestly, ever.
Just people like supporting hate and just bringing up bullshit anyway. And no, I'm not talking about, like I said in my post, what's her fucking face, trash face, Shannon. I fucking hate people. It doesn't matter. I just want to say one thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about his past. It's not their business. It doesn't matter if he kills me, or it's not gonna happen. But what happened doesn't matter. What?
Sorry, I had to readjust the camera a little bit. So she says that it doesn't matter what well, first she starts off by saying that she's not going to discuss Shannon, and then immediately she jumps into discussing Shannon, which who would have thunk it, right? It's not like Chantal has ever been known to go back on her word, or just to do what she said she's not going to do. Chantal's very consistent. Anyway, the thing that I don't understand is this idea that she has that she's guaranteed anonymity, when honestly, a lot of the time people that she doesn't get the anonymity and the privacy that she wants is because she's the one who's putting this information out there front and center. Now, in the case of Shannon, I should say, not Chantal. In the case of Shannon, I have spoken before. I do follow her, by the way, on Twitter. She isn't like this obsessed person, at least from what I've seen, who's just done nothing but talk about Chantal. Chantal tries to paint that picture later on. She has her account on private. She doesn't even allow all that many people to follow her. So she's not doing this for like internet clout or internet fame. My personal belief is that the reason she did this is because she, at that point, loved Chantal enough to be able to do something for her that Chantal doesn't have the ability to do, while not really understanding how to go about doing this in a useful way, quote unquote, right? Like approaching somebody's abuser, putting this information out there on the internet. I don't think that any of those actions are smart. From what I've read online, a lot of times when you bring attention to the fact that people have cottoned on to the abuse that someone is suffering, it can make the abuser turn around and harm the person that they're abusing even worse than before, potentially leading to unaliving them. And so I don't think that that's a smart way of approaching it. I don't think that she did the right thing there. But I do think that her intentions weren't exactly negative, especially when they started. If you know someone who is in this kind of a position and you're seeing the path that they are going down, and you think, I haven't been able to say or do something that would like fix the situation, nothing I'm saying is getting through to them, you might get to the point where you think to yourself, fuck it, screw it. You know what, it's fine if they no longer want to talk to me. It's fine if they want to burn every bridge, but as long as I can get them out of the situation, maybe it will have been worth it. And I can understand somebody looking at it from that point of view. I think that's kind of where Shannon came at this from. I don't necessarily agree with her then going into FFG's chat. The only reason that I can think why I would do something like that if I was on her end is because I know how irritated Chantel is, right? If I saw that somebody I loved was this mad at someone, I might go to their chat. I might just throw that information out there for them, just because at least then Chantel will have to engage with it. At least then she will have to address it, because FFG's platform is much, much bigger than Shannon's is. I could understand that. I don't necessarily know if I agree with it, but I can see where she's coming from. I can also see why Chantel is so mad at the information being disclosed. But right now, the problem is that, yes, the breach of trust is important. And yeah, sure, you're mad about that, but you're not really doing a very good job here in explaining why she is why she did something so awful. Like why she is such a bad person for behaving the way that she behaved. Because from everything I can see here, from everything everyone else is saying, and honestly, her own words give justification to why Shannon would take the steps that she took. She's like, well, it doesn't matter if he kills me, it's none of your business. Are you kidding? Are you joking right now? Those are the kind of friends that you want. The kind of friends who wouldn't care if your abusive partner kills you as long as you keep their secret. That is like Neanderthal thinking. There is no one in my entire life that feels that way. Not like, I actually asked people. I asked friends. I was like, if I told you a secret that you thought could get me killed, but keeping it might also lead to my death. Like, would you keep that even if I no longer talk to you again? Like, would you? I didn't give them the exact details because I don't really think anyone would get the entire context of Chantel's channel in just a couple sentences. But I asked them, gave them a similar scenario. I'm like, would you try and do everything you could? And most people are like, of course we would. Because if you love someone, you love them enough to want what's best for them, right? It's not about them being there and being your friend in that period of time. It's not always about the good times. It's about making sure that that person survives and heals. And maybe if they're doing well enough in the future, you can try and have that closeness again. But that person has to be alive for that. I can't imagine a scenario in which someone in my life, someone that I call my best friend, if anything, she got married, right? A couple of years ago. And I told her then too, her husband, sweetest guy, genuinely sweetest guy. But people can be wrong. Sometimes information can be misleading. And I told her, I'm like, if there is ever an issue, you call me, right? You call me, I will buy you a ticket. I'll fly out there. I'll do anything, anything you want, right? No questions asked. I wouldn't let someone hurt my best friend. I would drive a car through her house and get her out if it was necessary. You think I give a singular fuck if she's mad at me? Absolutely not. This is the person that I love. I will protect her from herself if necessary. Her happiness with me, her contentness with my actions is secondary to her physical and mental well-being, as far as I'm concerned. And that's the kind of friend that you should have in your best friend, supposedly. So what Chantel's asking for here is, as far as I can see, it's an oxymoron. You can't have a best friend who doesn't give a shit. It's just not how it works. They're never going to value your secret over your physical and mental health. They're just not. So the kind of person that you're looking for is the kind of person that honestly is just an acquaintance. You want casual friends, only there for the good times.
Matters is that I told my friend, who I thought was my best friend, in confidence, and this fucking cunt goes and shares the information with a hater or the internet. You're the lowest piece of scum I've ever met in my entire life, and I'll never talk to you again. I'll never be friends with you again.
I find it so funny. You're the lowest piece of scum that I have ever met in my entire life. You are literally with a man who has hit you before. And I understand that people can change, and I understand that sometimes, circumstances happen where people lose their temper. No situation is completely black and white. But when you're looking at a situation where you've got a friend of I think Chantel says at some point it's 15, 16 years. You've got a long-term friend who's willing to burn a bridge with you because she thinks you're in that much danger. And on the other hand, you have a man you've known for less than a year who's hit you. And the fact that that guy is coming out on top, if that doesn't make you see reason, then I don't think anything will.
I don't care how fucking concerned you are. If you're so concerned, you don't out somebody who's supposedly being abused on the internet. You don't do that to your best friend. And yes, I don't use that word often.
Two things. One, I don't like the fact that she uses the term out here. There's another instance, if I remember correctly, where she'd used a phrase very closely associated to the LGBTQIA plus community. I think outing is very specifically referencing that. I understand the intention with which she's saying it. I'm not saying that she's doing this to be a bigot or anything like that. I just don't think that you should. Sometimes language matters. I think using language in the correct context matters. And that word has been coded to mean something very particular. So I wouldn't use that word, but once more, this is not me saying that she's saying something to be like a dick or anything like that. I think that she's just using the closest word that she could to express the thought that she had. Don't agree with the word choice, but I get it. As for like not that you don't tell people on the internet, you don't do that to your best friend. Once more, I can understand that. I can understand you being furious that someone shared your personal conversations, but I don't understand why you can't see things from her point of view. And I think that's a problem that Chantel has a lot. She doesn't have the ability to empathize with other people. She doesn't have the ability to see outside of herself. She doesn't really even have the availability within her to look at her own actions in a unbiased manner, right? She can't even look at things and say, okay, well, if I was observing myself doing this, let alone let me put myself in someone else's complex shoes with complex history. She doesn't have the tools for that. Chantel is a remarkably unaware person, and more importantly, she's unaware on purpose. Chantel isn't stupid. There are people out there who don't have any awareness or insight into their own actions, but Chantel isn't one of them. She is like this because she's like this. By the way, I had a couple comments ask me why this room is like quote unquote baby proof. My cousin comes down here a lot, and this is the room that he stays in. My cousin is my mom's oldest brother's son, and he has 2 little kids. So this entire room is like baby saved for them. And the tape is here because my sister's piece of crap cat tends to push it open with her paws, and I'm scared she's gonna pee in it. So the tape is just there as a deterrent for her.
But I use it when I'm really hurt, apparently, and for people who deserve it, and she deserves it, because what she did makes her one of those bad words.
I mean, she used the word cunt. It's a pretty sexist word, I would say. Also, I've never really understood that, or like using the word pussy to like describe people who are weak. If you've ever seen childbirth, and I have, those things can take a goddamn fucking beating. So no idea where that comes from. And as for using this kind of language when she's mad, I mean, are you surprised? Is anyone here surprised that she used that word? No one is surprised. Like, she's often used language that would be considered like quote unquote charged. You know what I mean? Like, she's used the R word in context. She's like famously, she's, used Charlie Cole. She's threatened to run Charlie's family over with her walker. She often says things in the heat of the moment. And while I necessarily don't think that she is like, she doesn't mean it, you guys, she's just, saying things. I don't think that that's true. I think that the stuff that you say when you're mad can often be a reflection of like your purest intent, because that is the level to which you're willing to stoop when you don't really have a clear understanding of the consequences, right? So take partner, for instance. There is no situation in which he would, for example, say the N-word. None. There's no situation. There's no amount of anger that could ever make him use the N-word. There's no amount of excitement that could ever make him use the N-word, because growing up on like the West Coast and growing up in the culture that he's been immersed in, he's very clear on the idea of what the N-word means, right? He knows the history of it. He knows the hurt that it's caused. He's not at all, I guess you could say, isolated from the effects that word can have, the negative effects that the word can have. So he would never use it. Same thing with the R word. He is a very conscientious person. And for all of that you guys think I'm a bleeding heart liberal, trust me, like partner is like 3 times worse. So like he would never do that, right? Like I would never use the R word to like casually refer to someone who is like being stupid, for example, or making stupid decisions. I would never like make Holocaust jokes, right? I think that there are some things that I just don't believe in. I don't like the concept of. And that's not for me to like, I'm not going to sit here and say like comedians can't make jokes or whatever. That's like a whole other conversation. But for me personally, those are just lines that I'm not going to be willing to cross. For Chantel, she thinks a lot of times that any line is a fair line to cross as long as she is defending herself. And that people should just understand that it's fine, that this is just how it is. I don't agree with that. I think that's really fucked up thinking, that you think that just because you are feeling a kind of way, it gives you the right to use certain language and use certain words that can honestly cause a lot of harm to some people. Do I think that, you know, the like using the word cunt, which I'm going to go ahead and say it because I think I'm one of the people who would be impacted by it, but do I think that it is maybe like at the level of using the N word or using the R word or any of like the other more charged language? No, I don't think so. It's a slur, right? But it's not really that pointed of a slur. And honestly, it's aimed at 50% of the population, and she's one of the people it's aimed at. So if anything, I would say this is less harmful, but it is indicative of a pattern with her, that she's willing to stoop. She's like, I don't use that word a lot. I have a friend who's British who uses that word all the goddamn live long day. It's just part of her vernacular, right? But Chantel's not one of those people, and I am part of that population, and I don't ever use that word. But mostly just because the context with which I've always heard it has like grossed me out, right? So I just pointing it out there.
Good luck. Like I also hate people who hate bond. Like 1 minute they hate this person, and then because they have something similar, that, you know, oh well, it's advantageous for me to like you at the moment. That's what's happening with her and fucking potato head bitch with the side ponytail. That's what's happening.
I mean, yes and no. Hate bonding, I would say, is a thing. It's like jumping, like bandwagoning, right? Like people can build. Is there like an app that does that? Actually, sorry, my mind got away from me for a minute. But you can bond with people based on shared likes, but you can also bond with people based on shared dislikes, right? Like I have friends who I have honestly very little in common with other than stuff we don't like, and it's fine. We get along great, right? You don't have to have everything in common with someone else. Do I think that that's the reason that she necessarily went to Frenchie? I don't think so. I think she went to Frenchie because Frenchie has a significantly larger platform than her and could get the message out much more efficiently. I think she went there to have her side of the story heard because Chantel has a significantly bigger platform than almost anybody else in this space outside of, I want to say, like Zachary Michael and like Charlie Gold, right? Chantel has 87,000, I want to say, subscribers. And she's sitting here and she's bad-mouthing Shannon. And so when you're in that position, you're like, well, someone should hear my side of the story too, right? Just the same way that Chantel is doing. Now, quite frankly, I don't know who went to whom first. I don't know who brought up this conversation first. I think it was Shannon, but my memory is always not on point, as it were. So I could be wrong on that. But either way, I can see why she would do this. Shannon has a lot of reasons for why she could have gone to Frenchie. And I haven't had an in-depth conversation with her. If she is a person who is watching my channel, I would love to have a conversation with you. But if not, I totally get it. No pressure. So I can't say. I don't want to give her, I don't want to attribute to her like motivations when I don't know. Because like I said, we are not like close personal friends. I don't know, right? And more importantly, she is doing the same thing right now that she accuses a lot of, reaction channels and watchers of hers to do, which is take a small piece of information, take one action, and ascribe a whole meaning of information to it, right? So like a whole backstory of why this could have happened and blah, blah, blah. The only one who knows the truth of why they did what they did is Shannon. And she, at least so far, has not shown to be a liar. So I'm going to go ahead and believe her when she says something. When it comes to Chantel, I'm not willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not willing to listen to her because Chantel is a liar. She's admittedly a liar. She admits it several times. I think she even admits it like in this stream at some point. So until we know that, what you're doing right now is making up a story about why she did what she did and passing it off as the truth. Something that you have ostensibly said several times. Ostensibly? If someone is better at language than I am, please let me know down below. But if lost my train of thought. You have maintained for a very long period of time that you don't like it when reaction channels, when the community at large takes a small piece of information and creates a narrative around it because it upsets you because you're like, well, that's not true. They're lying about me, right? So if you ascribe lying to that action, if you say that anyone who takes a piece of information and interprets it in a certain way is lying about you because it is different from the version of truth that you are presenting, then you are literally lying right now, right? Because that's what you're doing about why Shannon did what she did. The only piece of information you have is that she went to Frenchie and she was in her chat and she's putting out screenshots, right? You have some more information than us, but no more information than like everybody else, right? You don't have more information than the person who did the actions, which is Shannon, and Shannon's saying that's not why she did it. So when you come back to this, you are essentially doing what we do. You are reacting to some information that you have seen and you're making a story around it. So if what we do is lying, then what you're doing is also lying.
Anyway, no, I won't be addressing anything because you know what? It's no one's business. You don't deserve to know anything. The truth. Y'all can kiss my ass. And if you don't like me and you want to not support me anymore, y'all can kiss my ass too. How about that? Because I've done nothing to anybody. Nothing. I'm living my fucking life.
Okay. I think people are asking her about the stabbing thing, which apparently Method Man has stabbed someone in the past. I don't know the specifics of that. I have seen exactly one screenshot of the conversations that Shannon has had with Chantel, so I don't know everything 100%, but given the line of work that I suspect he's in, it wouldn't surprise me if he'd stabbed someone, whether in self-defense or just because. Also, people tend to do things and make decisions when they're on drugs that they wouldn't normally make. So once more, wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Right, Shay? I love how, like, people can talk.
Oh, sorry. One more thing I'm going to say about the previous clip is she says that she's like, oh, well, if you don't support me, then you can kiss my ass, too. If I sat down to kiss Chantel's ass, it would take an entire year. And more importantly, why? Why are you so mad? Do you think that you are deserving 100% of all of the support that you have? Do you think that someone not wanting to support you anymore is a personal attack? If I don't want to give you my money, is that a personal attack on you? Because if I go to a job interview and I don't get the job, I don't assume that it's a personal attack on me. I assume that I simply wasn't qualified for the position or that they had different requirements, right? I don't assume that everything is the other person's fault. The only way that that can always be true is if you are a person without sin. You have never committed a crime. You've never committed any wrongdoing in your entire life. And we all know that that's not true.
Fucking shit all day. Sorry, I don't have money. All day, but the minute I fucking defend myself, I'm a bitch. Be mad all day. I don't care. And if I see anyone complain when I'm venting and get offended, when they know I'm not addressing them, I'm gonna fucking block you.
I mean, defend yourself all you want. I mean, no one is saying that you can't defend yourself. She can defend herself on her channel. She can say whatever she wants on her channel. But that doesn't mean that you are going to be insulated from the reaction that that's going to cause. I think Chantel views her actions and the reactions to them as like one thing, right? So she thinks that if someone says, oh, you know, how dare you say that, you know, as meaning you can't say that. It's not the same thing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't say this. You can say and do whatever pleases you, as you most certainly do. But that doesn't mean that I have to hold back what I think, say, or feel just because you do. Just like you are entitled to your opinions and reactions, I'm entitled to my opinions and reactions too. So if you want to be a bitch on the internet, then I get to be a bitch on the internet right back to you. Okay? And you don't have to address me directly to be a bitch. I don't really give a shit whether Chantel knows who I am or not. It is irrelevant to me. I've said multiple times before that I don't make these videos for Chantel. My channel is too small, and quite honestly, I'm not... I don't think I'm particularly polarized in one way or the other, right? Like, I am not interested in slinging mud at her, as it were. It doesn't bring me any kind of joy. I can sit here and call her 50 different kinds of names, but it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make me more satisfied. I don't think she's going to change any of her behavior, so I don't bother in it. Instead, I talk to the people who I think can take something away from her behavior, who can maybe learn something about themselves. Like, every once in a while, I'll have someone in my comments tell me that, hey, you know, you were talking about healthy boundaries and relationships, and it really made me realize that, you know, some of the relationships I had in my life weren't healthy. I'm not commenting on anyone in particular. I know I've read a comment like that in the past, but there's other comments similar where they'll tell me, hey, I took something away from your video, even if it's something small. That makes me so happy because I'm sitting here and I'm talking about a subject that a lot of us are interested in, but I'm hoping that my commentary does more for people than just like a time pass. Even if it is just a time pass, even if it just takes your mind off of the day, it's something you took away from that. Your relaxation was something you took away from it. And that's what I care about. Which is why I'm not interested in sitting her and calling her names, because nobody takes anything away from that, right? You guys wouldn't take very much away from me sitting here raging for like 50 minutes. And a lot of times, honestly, it comes across like I'm screaming at you, which is what this comes across as. She has this, sorry, I'm putting my elbows down on here and it's like vibrating the camera a little bit. I apologize for that. But she's sitting here and she's screaming into her phone. And this is a members only chat. So the people that she's raging at are her members. People she's blocking are her members. She's deleting are her members. So she's screaming at people who are literally paying her bills. What does it get you? All it does is create discontentment among people who are paying to watch you. The people who are not paying to watch you, like me, I am unbothered by your screaming. I don't care if you're upset. Quite frankly, I really wish that you had more upsetness happening in your life. Maybe then you would change the course of your life. Maybe then you take some action and accountability and not be such a shit human being as a general rule, right? So it doesn't do anything for me. The only people you're upsetting are people who are literally paying for you. That's why it doesn't make any sense to me when she does things like this. That's why people tell you. Sometimes I tell her for her own benefit. For all that I don't think she can get better without her channel, I still don't like the idea that she could become homeless and be dependent on others for money again. Mostly because I think that she would be a burden in their lives, but also because I don't want that for anyone. So I go back and forth because I'm a human being, That's why. That's why people tell you don't do that. That's why your channel tells you that. That's why your friends in your community, your friends, quote unquote, tell you that. Hey, don't do that. Hey, don't say that. Hey, don't behave that way. They're trying to help you out here. You want to be a bitch? Go ahead and be a bitch. The only person who loses out is you, really.
Everyone has a past. Oh, if he's such a fucking murderer, why isn't he in prison?
Right. Because the Justice Department is infallible and they never make mistakes. They never do anything. And once more, we don't know the entire trajectory of his life either. We don't know everything that's happened with him. For all we know, he could have actually gone to prison. Because he stabbed someone doesn't mean that he killed someone. And just because he killed someone doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be found guilty. There's a variety of reasons why stuff like this can happen. Just something as simple as like a clerical error on the part of the court can result in people walking free who really should not be walking free. So that means nothing to me. It literally means nothing to me.
You would be in prison if you were a murderer, you fucking morons. Oh.
No. And I really would recommend watching things like the Trial of the Chicago 7 or the Central Park 5, I think it's called. What was that called? When They See Me, When They See Us. I don't remember exactly, but it's on Netflix and it's great. Watch those and then tell me that the Justice Department works perfectly. There's a variety of reasons why people don't go to prison. There's a variety of reasons that people do, and they're not always as clear as, well, what he did was illegal.
It's no one's business. I told her this in confidence. You guys don't fucking get it. If you had a friend who did that to you, you would be pissed.
I would be pissed. I'd be hella furious that a friend of mine who I told them something in confidence went and disclosed this information to everybody in my life. But I also have enough awareness of my own actions and of myself to understand that, hey, if they're being like a shitty person and if they're just spreading malicious information about me that really is nobody's business, then I would hold them accountable for that. But if they're just doing it to try and get me out of what they seriously consider to be an abusive relationship or a toxic situation, then I would at least keep that in mind. You are so blinded by the fact that you were apparently quote unquote slighted that you don't even seem to realize she is maybe the truest friend you had. And I do mean had. I think she's burned that bridge. And quite frankly, if I was any one of her other friends, I wouldn't attempt. Even if she reached out for help at this point, I wouldn't attempt it because I have no idea if she's going to turn around and pull this kind of shit with me on the internet.
Why? What this has to do with me? I'm not a liar. I'm not telling anyone. That doesn't make me, oh no, there's screenshots. What now? What? Damage control for what? Did he do anything to you in the past? Did I do anything to you? No. The only person who's...
Do I have to be upset about something only if someone has done something to me in the past? I mean, I would think that I can be upset on other people's behalves, right? This isn't like a case of like cultural appropriation. This is a case of someone who's potentially stabbed someone. That's pretty cut and dry. If it's not in a case of self-defense, stabbing someone is a pretty reprehensible thing to do. So are you saying I can only be upset if I was the person who stabbed, that nobody else has the right to be upset? If I think that someone is being an abusive piece of human garbage, do I have to be only upset if they're being an abusive piece of human garbage to me? And this seems like a really throwaway line, but I think it shows something about the way that Chantal treats the people in her life. She had said before that, the person who released the information was in abusive relationships, and that she didn't like reach out to her abusive partner at the time and like was like being belligerent towards them. You think that shows that you respect that person, that you respect what they want. But in reality, what that shows me is that you are nobody's true friend. What that shows me is that because it might cause you discomfort and difficulty, and it might create like disharmony between your friendship with this person, you are willing to not say a singular thing, not willing to help this person in a way that they probably do need help, not willing to engage with this person in a way that they need to be engaged, to reach out, to lend a hand, to call the right authorities, to reach out to her family, to do all of those difficult things to get a person like that out of a situation like that. You're not willing to do any of that because it might cost you their friendship. You value what the friendship is providing you more than you value the person who's providing it. What that shows me is that you are a bad friend. And we've seen multiple examples of that. We've seen you be a bad friend to Pete's. We've seen you be a bad friend to BB. And now we see you be a bad friend to Shannon. And this is historically, this is in the past, right? So, and it's without the context of this current situation. But that's what she thinks that a real friend would do. They would watch somebody suffer in silence, and as long as that person says, I don't need help, they think, all right, I don't need, then I guess it's fine. I guess we'll just continue on like we are. Without understanding that people who love you will suffer when you suffer. So this idea of, well, they didn't harm you, so why do you care? They did kind of harm me though, right? If someone was hurting my best friend, then they did harm me. She is hurting. Her pain means something to me.
Guilty of anything fucking shitty here is Shannon and French Fry Girl for making up shit to their advantage, and for you release DMs of your fucking friend you've been with 20 years. You're a piece of shit no matter what you're accusing the person that you're of doing. Oh, well, maybe if I release DMs, maybe people will bully her enough into leaving him or doing something she doesn't want to do. What's the logic? What is the fucking logic? There's no logic.
Actually, that was the logic. I do think that that's kind of where she's coming from. Oh, I paused it at the exact halfway mark. By the way, sorry, I was pausing that a lot. My computer's like spacebar is like really, really soft. Like if I touch it, it will just go, it'll immediately pause. Anyway, I do think that was the logic. I think the logic was that if I release this information to the internet, not that they'll like bully her into leaving, but with so many of us telling her that she is not like that she shouldn't be in this sort of a relationship, that she should let him go, maybe she'll be listened to the cacophony of voices rather than cacophony is not the word, cacophony of voices that are like telling her the same thing. Maybe if I couldn't get her to see reason, maybe all these people and all of their thoughts combined will get her to see reason. And I think that was part of why she went to Frenchie's channel. Frenchie's channel is doing quite well. God bless her. I think that's kind of where she was coming from. And she doesn't understand or see that. She doesn't understand that that someone could be doing something like that, because to her, the idea that anyone could force her to do anything is absolutely absurd. There is a psychological disorder that I can't remember the name of, but I think it's called like oppositional defiant disorder, if I remember correctly, but I could also be wrong. If I can remember it later, I'll like throw a thing up on the screen so you guys know what I'm talking about. And she displays like a few characteristics from that, a few hallmarks of that. And the saddest thing is to me that a lot of times people who have this end up like in prison or like dead. And it's sad. It's quite honestly very sad. I wish that she would see a therapist for why she feels the need to rebel against what anybody is saying to her at any point in time. instead of essentially self-destructing and doing whatever she's doing now, you know, she has this mentality of, I'll cut off my nose to spite my face. And it's so self-destructive that I don't know what to do. And I understand the urge because I am like that to a certain degree. I don't like being told what to do. So a lot of times, if you try and force my hand, I will literally burn the entire project to the ground. Theoretically speaking, I've never actually set anything on fire that you could prove. But she's not, she like, it's not a helpful thing. That kind of spite isn't like a productive thing to feel. It's not helpful. It's toxic most of the time in almost any relationship that you're in. And it's something that can be fixed. Like, I have learned to grow from that. Like I've said multiple times before, that I relate to Chantel in more ways than just having weight struggles. A lot of her negative personality traits I see reflected in my own past actions. And so when I look at her behave this way, I think to myself, what did I do to fix it? And the best thing that I can tell you is go to fucking therapy. Nothing else helped me. And I don't know if therapy is going to fix it 100%. Because therapy is not, it's not a magic bullet. It's not a potion you drink and then voila, you're better now. Newer, better version of you. That's not how it works. It's hard work. It takes time. You have to just keep sludging through it and through it and through it. And you have to keep trying and trying and trying and hope that something works and hope that something sticks. But you have to give it your all every single time. And it sucks all of the time. It sucks all of the time. It's not fun. No one's ever, thought to themselves, woken up that morning and thought, yes, today I have therapy. Every time I have therapy, I am distraught. Every time I have therapy, I spend half that day crying. And sometimes the next day crying too. It's not a fun thought. But if you want to grow from how you are now, then it's the only real way that I have found to do it. Right? Outside of having like a life and death experience that will refocus your entire worldview into something different, this is the most safe and efficient way of doing it. Therapy, of all the things in the world, I think therapy is the closest thing to an answered prayer. And I really, really wish Chantel would utilize this lifeline.
Actually, we've grown apart. Shannon and I, we've recently rekindled our friendship, but we grew apart because we don't have much in common, really, when you think about it. Like, laughing as teenagers, yeah, but we've grown apart. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, Shannon has grown and matured in her life. She's a mom now. She has stuff going on. She probably has a job. She's an adult human fucking person. Meanwhile, Chantel is an adolescent woman baby, doing drugs and farting on the internet for money. I'm sorry, but she hasn't grown past being a teenager. And the way that she talks about growing past Shannon and, just getting like, we grew apart, it speaks to me the same way that a teenager would talk about like an adult. Ugh, they don't have anything interesting to say anymore. They're so boring. All they talk about is their stupid, dumb baby and their stupid, dumb taxes. Me and my friends don't talk about the same things we did when we were in our early 20s, okay? When I was in my 20s, I got in my early 20s, I talk like I'm like 400 years old now. In my early 20s, I spent a lot of my time thinking about like, oh, God, isn't that guy so cute? And how do I get his attention? And God, fuck, I got to pass my classes and I'm working on my honors thesis and I got this to do. And I don't want to deal with my mom. I want to go to that house party. And it was a lot of like very juvenile thoughts about what was happening in my life. There was very little introspection happening. There was very little growth happening other than like what my professional growth was and what comes naturally with aging, right? There was no like directional growth. There was no like intentional growth. I didn't do any of that stuff because I was a child, because my brain wasn't done developing. Now, as someone who is married, who potentially wants to have a child one day, who wants to do things in her life, that are no longer just go to a house party or impress a guy, those are not the conversations I have with my friends. Like, one of the funniest things to me is that every girls trip I've ever gone on, we have had one night where we stayed up until like 4 a.m. having a in-depth conversation about like a very heavy topic. And I think the last one that we went on, I told you guys about it, our like friend baby moon, if you want to call it that, two of our friends actually. Now it's more than that. Now we found out it's more than just the two. But two of the girls on that trip were like very visibly pregnant and had already like announced it and everything like that. And we'd stayed up until I want to say almost like 4 or 5 a.m. Not like at a party, you know, like shaking our ass or whatever. We'd stayed up literally discussing the things that you pass on to your children, the legacy that you pass on to your children, and what like religious superstition and cultural superstition, like what that stuff can do on a wider scale and how that harms people. And like, we don't always see eye to eye, but what I mean to say is that like when you grow up, you have grown up conversations. These are grown up conversations. There's two pregnant ladies there passing legacies on to your children is like a pretty impressive like topic to handle. When you're still stuck in this adolescent mindset where like farts are the funniest thing on the planet, all you care about is gorging yourself and taking a nap, then you're never going to grow into the point of your life where you can have these adult conversations with friends. And when one of you is stuck in one position and the other one is stuck in another, you're going to grow apart. My brother has friends who are like that, right? Like I've told you guys before, my brother is a physician. He is a full-grown human man. And he has friends who are still like faffing around, right? Like he has friends who are like married and have kids and all that. And then he has friends who are none of those things and who are still like, oh yeah, I'm trying to like, you know, find money so I can launch this really ridiculous, not thought out business plan and, you know, do all those things based on my dad's money. He has friends who are like that too, you know, who haven't really grown up past the college mindset of, well, I can just make it work because I have daddy's money. He doesn't keep in touch with those people quite as much anymore. Not because they're not his friends or that he doesn't like them anymore. They just don't have as much in common. How do you relate to someone who's not on the same maturity level as you? And for the person on the other side of it, it's literally like talking to a child. That doesn't mean that if they ever reached out to me or that if my brother's friend ever reached out to them and said, hey, I'm in a really tough situation, I need your help, he'd be like, fuck you, we don't relate anymore, see ya bitches, I'm out. Right? Like, you still care about them. You just no longer have as much in common with them.
And that's it for me. Once you fuck me over I hold grudges. Like sometimes yes, depends what you do to me and depends who it's from. But
she says this, but she's like, depends on who, you know, what you do to me and depends on who it's from. And I find it really funny that she's not willing to forgive Shannon for leaking DMs onto the internet, but she's willing to forgive Nader for beating her. The fact that those apparently, like, one is an unforgivable sin where the other one was just like, oopsie daisies, oops.
I don't give a crap about you and you do something to me, oh yeah, I'll forgive you, I don't care. I'm not gonna harbor hate against somebody that doesn't fucking matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna happen. Do what you want to do.
She says that she doesn't harbor hate against someone who doesn't really matter to her, but I think that it's a lot the other way around. It depends on what she perceives to be as your level of devotion towards her, right? She's like, she is saying that she's willing to forgive people, you know, who she doesn't feel that she has an emotional connection with. But I actually think she's willing to forgive people who she thinks don't have an emotional connection with her. She will forgive people who she wants the approval, the affection, and attention from. She's not willing to forgive the people who love her. That's where she draws the line, because she's like, I already have their love. It's already a thing I have. And in her mind, there's no such thing as conditional love. There's no such thing as like appreciating people based on what they're doing. It's always you either love me or you don't. It's very black and white. So if she has their love, then she has it for life. And she'll test you occasionally, right? Because that's just how she is. She plays games. But she doesn't see that if you don't treat people with the same kind of love, affection, and respect, that they're going to walk away from you. She doesn't seem to comprehend that that's a very legitimate choice open to them. That's why she's like, well, you know, depends on what they do. If they love her, then she's like, then they should be able to love me at my worst. And I hate that. You know that like internet thing where they're like, well, if you can't love me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. Absolutely not. That is such a toxic mindset to have. If someone is being an absolute asshat to you, you shouldn't love them and you should fucking walk away. It doesn't matter what their best is. That's the kind of language that abusers use. But they're like, well, you know, you made me so mad. You made me so mad. You know I can't control my temper. I'm so good to you the rest of the time, aren't I? Aren't I? Don't I love you the rest of the time? Don't I take care of you? Don't I think about you? Don't I appreciate you? You know, so you just sometimes make me so mad. You sometimes just say things that upset me so much and I can't control myself. And they want to hide those negative aspects of themselves. They want to hide those bad parts of themselves behind the smoke screen of good parts of themselves. It's not how it works. You are the same person in your good moments that you are in your bad moments. All of that is you. One isn't less you than the other. So when she's sitting there and she says things like, well, depends on what you've done, I'll be willing to forgive you. But the only people she seems to forgive are people who don't seem to have her best interests at heart. It makes me wonder.
Whatever. You've been a fucking abusive piece of shit too. Abusing every one of your boyfriends. So shut the fuck up.
If there's anything in here that would make me want to literally grab her by the shoulders and shake her, this would be it. She is saying this, that you've been an abusive piece of shit to every single one of your boyfriends. Remember, Chantel has said that this person in particular has been in multiple abusive relationships. Are you joking right now, Chantel? Shut the fuck up. This is what makes her so intensely unlikable. This is why my sympathy wanes so low for her. This is why I have such a hard time expressing anything but disdain and disgust for who she is as a person. 1 second, friends. It makes me disgusted at her. I realize that Chantel's in a bad situation. I realize that. I realize that she's having a hard time. But she's still fucking human garbage. Nothing will convince me otherwise.
About things, if you're a supporter, you would understand why I would be upset. Otherwise, you can kiss my fucking ass too.
This idea that you have to be a supporter, otherwise you can kiss my ass. If you don't understand what I'm saying, then you're obviously not a supporter. People don't have to, sorry about that. People don't have to support you 100% for them to be supporters. They don't have to agree with everything you're saying for them to be supporters. Sometimes even supporters, even loved ones, don't agree with you on stuff, okay? It's just the way of the world.
Seriously, I don't care anymore. I don't. You cannot watch or support. But don't come in here and be a fucking asshole because I'm not in the mood. Quite frankly. Okay? Yes.
I mean, you're being a fucking asshole. How about that then? You don't be an asshole to people, maybe people won't be an asshole back to you, but you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, I'll treat people like shit whenever I want, but you can't do the same thing to me.
You don't know him, April May, okay? Nobody knows him. What I do and who I'm with is my business. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking. It's not no one's business about anyone's past. So then don't support it. Then fucking leave me alone. If you're mad who I'm with or who I'm talking, then leave me the fuck alone. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do what I want in my life. You don't know anybody. Only what I've said, and what I've said, I was wrong to do it.
Okay, but it doesn't matter if you were wrong to do it or disclose the information in the first place. You already put that information out there. It's done. It's done. Once you've disclosed the information, it's done. You can't take it back. That's it.
How is nobody fucking pissed off about anyway, it doesn't matter. Why am I addressing people who don't fucking matter? Why do I do this to myself?
Because you can't help it. It's the reason why you're in this situation to begin with. Because you put the information out there and then you regret your decision. You don't have anything else in your life going on. You don't have anyone else to talk to or about. So you put the information out there and then inevitably you regret your actions because that's all you're really capable of doing. But just because you don't choose to learn from your actions in the past doesn't mean that it's everybody else's fault. Sorry, but you made his information public. You doxed him. No one else did. So now we get to talk about it. You didn't want this to be a problem. You shouldn't have behaved the way that you did on the internet. Are people a little bit shitty for going through his entire past? Maybe. But you knew it was going to happen. You knew what you were doing. And if you don't, then that's on you for not fucking learning your mistake the first 70, 100 times you made it.
Why would you want to be with somebody with a past? Everyone has a fucking past. Because I know what happened.
Yeah, everyone has a past, but most people's past is hey, I have a parking ticket and I ran over someone's cat. Not I stabbed someone and I'm doing cocaine. There's a difference. Don't compare two things that are not equivalent. Having a past doesn't mean that you are a bad person in the past. Partner has a past, He has stuff in his past as well, stuff that's emotionally relevant, but it's not actually critical. It doesn't make him a bad person. If partner came out to me and said that, hey, I stabbed someone and I was in jail for 2 years, that would be a past that would be worth talking about before. But if he comes out to me and he says, hey, look, I had a really messy breakup with someone, that's still a past. That's still baggage. But it's not the kind of baggage you're talking about. It's not the kind of baggage that comes with like handcuffs and a fucking police report. Grow up.
You don't. Actually, if she's releasing DMs, then yeah, it would even show like more what fucking bitch face, this potato head fucking bitch face is saying is wrong. And now,
I mean, no, it doesn't. It shows that Chantel is confirming what Mrs. Bitchface Potato Head is saying, right? But, you know, Chantel doesn't call people names.
this fucking bitch. Oh, God. Shannon, don't even fucking... How would you like your past outed? I'm sure that your daughters just love the fact that you're a shitty friend and that you did that to your number one friend for so long. Just...
I mean, you said yourself that they'd grown apart. You said that you two had grown apart recently. So where do you come off saying, oh, you know that you did this to your number one friend? I'm sure she has other friends, first of all. Second of all, what would your mother say, Chantel, about the fact that you are essentially bringing up other people's children to make your point? Don't talk about other people's kids. I am glad that Chantel doesn't have the ability to have children because, quite frankly, I don't think that this is a sort of person who should have children. Children are not an extension of their parents. They're human beings in their own right. They don't deserve to be used as a battering ram against your enemies, you piece of filth.
For drama because you're a piece of shit. Oh,
you're a piece of shit. You're talking about innocent children to make your point. She's the piece of shit. Go eat an entire bag of nails, Chantel.
Seriously.
I mean,
what gives somebody...
I meant human nails and not like the nails you put into a wall. This is not, you know, me threatening her.
The right to talk about somebody's past that they don't know. Like, he's not a YouTuber. I never talk about this shit.
You put it on your channel. You doxed him. You made it other people's business.
So why am I getting in shit for this?
Because you doxed him. You doxed him. You doxed him and you brought the information onto your channel. You made it other people's business. You talked about him relentlessly on your channel. You still talk about him relentlessly on your channel. You made it other people's business. You made your fucking bed, filled it with maggots, and now you have to lie in it. That's on you.
And what? FFG's gonna make fun of his teeth? Does she even fucking have any? She has the mouth of a fucking fucking toddler. How do you have teeth and not look like you don't have any? So shut up. How about that?
How do you look like you have the teeth of a horse and not actually be a horse? Sorry, that was like low of me. I will admit. I just called her a barn animal. But quite frankly, if the horseshoe fits.
Look at your own face. Oh, I fucking hate hypocrites, man. I can't.
She's like, I hate hypocrites. I can't stand it. I hate hypocrites. You literally hate people when they like call you fat. They like make fun of your looks. And here you are making fun of other people's looks. Hypocrisy is hypocrisy. It is what it is. Don't pretend that you're better than anybody else. Oh, I hate hypocrites. Shut the fuck up.
I can't.
You're the biggest hypocrite on this on YouTube. And I'm not talking about her size here.
I can't with hypocrites. I can't.
She must really hate herself. But then I suppose that was obvious.
I can't. Don't sit on your stream with your shitty side ponytail, no teeth in your mouth, looking like you're 60, making fun of me.
You'd be so lucky to get to 60, Chantel. You'd be so fucking lucky. That is the entirety of the video that I have to react to her. There's a lot more that she says during this entire stream and a lot more that I could talk about, but quite frankly, I don't give a shit anymore. Chantel, she irritates me. I was so mad watching the rest of this and I just got progressively madder and madder and madder. And then I got to the point where I'm just like, I don't want to be sitting here screaming into a camera. Quite frankly, I don't have a glass of water with me and I don't want to do this anymore with my life. I don't want to sit here and rage for hours on end. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to turn into Chantel. If I don't have anything productive to say, I'm just not going to say it. So that will be it for this. If you guys like this video, let me know. You know, give me a thumbs up if you did. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. Totally acceptable. You guys can leave me a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. You guys know I leave pretty much any comment up as long as it's not like racist or something like that. I don't care if you guys don't like me, and I don't care if you guys want to say negative things about my appearance. I'm a big girl. I can take it. And I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram, Twitter, and I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as a tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing here, you want me to continue, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to, and it's not necessary, but I really do appreciate it, and it makes a world of difference to my channel, and it helps me out. Quite frankly, it really does. I wanted to give a special shout out to my $25 patrons, D. Higgins and Oceana Song. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Dane TB, Jam Beans, Sidra Z, Colleen L, Debbie Elliott, Just a Jude, Kate O, and a special thank you to my $25 patrons, D. Higgins and Oceana Song.